friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. This is one of your favorite podcast episodes. I'm always checking the data, the downloads to see which podcasts are your favorite so I can produce more of the same. And without a doubt, these podcast episodes where I ask you to ask me anything and I share my answers are always a fan favorite. So I've grabbed my own cup of coffee. I'm asking you to grab yours, and let's get started. I picked 7. I asked on Instagram stories. If you're not following on Instagram, make sure you go over and do. But I asked you guys what questions you had, and this is what we came up with. So question number 1, there's 7. Question number 1, is there an update on your book, and when will we get a sneak peek? Oh, well, okay, so I don't know when you're going to get a sneak peek. There isn't anything to peek or sneak a peek at currently, but we are meeting and should meet again soon on the book cover, and we're making progress. All I can tell you guys is that whenever I walk by Barnes & Noble or the book section at Target, I think to myself, wow, the process that book went through in order to get from the author's mind to the finished product is impressive. If you're keeping track, I started writing a book proposal in 2023. That is correct. That's not a false statement. 2023. And I threw the first one out. The second one, I had the first one out. I hired a writing coach to kind of help me because I'd never done it before. I've shared before, but that was kind of my catalyst to realizing accountability and coaching was so profitable. Anne helped me write my second book proposal, which helped me land my writing agent, which is Jenny Burke. And then Jenny Burke helped me then at the beginning of last year, 2024, January, to start pitching to publishers. I got the book deal. I think I signed the book deal in April. I turned in my manuscript in October of last year, actually the very end of September. And right now we're in editing phase. So my editor at HarperCollins, her name is Kara. She lives in Chicago, and she has been sending me chapters with her notes. And then I tweak some things and change some things, and we make it better. Here is what I have learned, and it's a big lesson for me, is I want all the help I can get when it comes to this book. I want it to be the best it can be, the most helpful it can be, the most productive it can be for you as the reader. And so I had my writing coach help me edit it in the manuscript phase, and now I'm having Kara help me edit it, and then we'll go through 3 rounds of copy edits, and that is more the period here, contraction here, question mark here, period, all those sorts of things. Right now we're doing what's called developmental edits, which is basically still getting the gist of the information. I had more than enough words, so we're scaling back some things, simplifying some things, all those sorts of things. But here's the thing I've learned. I'd rather it get cut apart and just get all the feedback I can get now so I don't get a nasty Goodreads book review. I'm going to be honest. I've read those, and as an author now, they kind of make me cringe a little bit just because I know how much heart and effort goes into it. And I know not every person is going to like the book, but the more I can make it better now on this end, the better. So that's where we're at. We're in the developmental edit phase. We're also, my art director, Gabriella, is working on the book cover. The book cover matters because it needs to be something that, you want to pull the book off, because they say don't judge a book by its cover, but everybody does. And it needs to kind of elicit what the idea of the book is, the premise of the book, the feeling of the book. And so we're working on that, and I'm loving where we're going. So I don't know when I can give you a visual update, but that's the update. It is still slated to come out next year sometime, TBD. But don't you worry, you will be the first to know when that book is coming out, my little book baby. And I'm so excited. I really do love it. I believe in it. I believe in all of the things I've shared in it. I get really vulnerable and share a lot of stories in it that I hope encourage, inspire, and help you to live your best life. So that's the update on the book. Okay, next question, which I thought was a fun one, is what is your dream vacation? Okay, I love traveling with my kids and I love traveling with Scott. So anytime I get to travel with them, it's a dream vacation. I mean, of course, there's the squabbles and the stress and all of that sort of situation, but I love traveling. Solon is a freshman. Our oldest son is a freshman. And so I think it was in October when Scott and I were away, just the two of us. We always I think it's pretty common, by the way, to plan vacations while you're on vacation. I think there's a statistic about that. I should look it up. But we always tend to do that. Like we kind of dream about what's next. They say you do that because, of course, you're on vacation, you're having the best time, you want to make sure this happens again. But Scott and I kind of sat down and realized like we have basically 4 spring breaks left with Solon before he's off to college or his next adventure. He wants to be a pilot. And his schedule is not really our schedule anymore. And so those spring breaks kind of became like we started to map it out. So this year we're going to the beach at spring break. Next year we're going on a cruise. We just booked that. I know it sounds crazy early to book something like 14 months in advance, but when you have a family of 6, we have learned the sooner the better because not everybody accommodates large families very well. So we booked that with Brooke from Mix and Match Travel Agency. So we're getting all that organized. And then the following year, we think either the following year or Solon's senior year, we want to take the family to Italy. I student taught in Italy. Yes, I student taught. Take that in. Yes, you do things as a kid. Like I lived overseas as a kid in Switzerland. I student taught in Rome in college. Like you step back and you think, wow, that was a really big gift and privilege that I did not fully appreciate in the moment. Like now I'm like, wow, that was so fun. But I fell in love with Italy while I was over there student teaching. Got to do a lot of travel, but of course I was poor as all get out because I was a college student. And I've always wanted to go back. I've always wanted to take my family back and experience some of the places, without the cockroaches and the hostels. You know how that is. So that is kind of the next couple of trips we have planned are a cruise and Italy is kind of in the forefront. If my sister and brother-in-law are still there, then we'll probably try to figure out how we can see them as well. We don't know what the future holds for them. But if they're still there, of course, we'd wrap our time into seeing them as well. Okay, so those are kind of like on tap dream vacations right now. Of course, I'd love to do like a hut in Bora Bora or Tahiti with Scott someday, but let's be honest, we've got 4 kids. I don't know when that's going to happen. And also, I shared with my email list that there's this family I'm following on Instagram. Alteric family, I think is the name of their family. Anyway, they're on a 4-month world cruise. And I also think that'd be kind of fun in Scott and Mai's retirement to do that. So anyway, we love cruising. I'm not sure about 4 months. I'd be a little nervous about that, but also how cool would that be to see? I think it's like 33 countries and you go all the way around the world. So cool. Who can say that? I mean, so fun. Okay, anyway, now we're going to get into, okay, so those were kind of fun ones. Now we have a couple of tweaks. Like I said, ask me anything. And so I love these next ones. So I'm going to share with you some thoughts in how we can make it easier, all those sorts of things. So this person said, I have a 5-year-old who loves crafts, but I'm not crafty. I have no clue or desire. Help. Okay, so I don't know the full context if like she wants help with like her daughter crafting, if she kind of wants, I think my thought is she kind of wants to help like enter into that world, but she doesn't know how. So here are a couple of tiny tweaks that I came up with. Number 1, when my kids have an interest, and Crystal from the Money Saving Mom taught me this in her book, Love Centered Parenting. Lean in to their interests, even if it's not your interest. So my daughter, Vera, is 13 and she loves makeup, all things makeup. And she really has a knack for it. She knows a lot about it. She has all of the skills. And so a couple of weeks ago, I had her do my makeup and it was so fun. I just let her take the lead. I entered her world. I asked her questions. I let her explain things. It was so fun to enter her world. It is not something that interests me as much, but because I love her, I leaned in and loved her. So I'd offer the same advice when it comes to like a child that has a different interest in you. Maybe it's even video games. I know My son, like I said, wants to be a pilot. He loves aviation. I know more about aviation than I ever thought I needed to, but he is so passionate about it. Love asking questions, entering his world, watching him land the plane on his simulator, all of those sorts of things. So just leaning in and letting them take the lead and being interested in what they're interested in. At a very surface level, that's where I'd start. Number two, you don't have to be crafty. There are so many craft kits. Some of my favorites are Melissa and Doug and that Mondo Llama brand from Target. Picking up a craft kit that's simple, that has all the pieces, those are my jam too. You can sit down with your daughter or son and do a little craft together. And another idea is to have a crafting date. Maybe you go to a pottery place or you find an art class or a camp and then, just enter their world a little bit. Another idea is to set up a craft area for them. So Quincy is an artist. A prolific artist, crafts and makes art every single day. As much as he loves sports, he loves art and he's really good at it. He's really good at like seeing something. Like lately, he's been drawing Dog Man. Like he'll see it in a book. I thought he was tracing it. No, he's just drawing that. He looks at an object and draws it. So a couple of years ago, set up an art area for him. If you don't have a set area for somebody, you could even do an art cart. I did this with my older kids, just like that IKEA 3 shelf art cart, where you just load it up with paper, scissors, crayons, markers, you name it. It doesn't have to have a lot, but it's just a designated area where they can keep all of their supplies. They can roll it out next to the dining room table. They can craft to their heart's content, and then they can put it away. Another thing that my sister introduced me to is there is a ton of crafting and art tutorials on YouTube Kids. So you could even watch one of those with your kids and then replicate it at home. You don't have to come up with any of the ideas yourself. You could do that with them. So those would be my things, but lean in and be interested in what they're interested in. I think that speaks volumes to our kids. And you'll learn something along the way, and it means something to them. Okay, along that vein, I thought this was interesting. We had that question, and then this question came in. My child loves crafts. It must be a thing. But I organize all the crafts, and it never stays that way, and it's super overwhelming for them to pick up. Help. Okay, I love this. So number one, here is when I said that art cart, it's a boundary. There's a space for each item and there's a boundary to keep it within, right? Kids get overwhelmed too with decision fatigue, and too much can be too much. So too many craft supplies equals too much mess. So I always say less is more. We stopped buying things like coloring books and sticker books because honestly, all Quincy wants is plain pieces of paper. And he will come into my office and take as much paper as he wants and go craft to his heart's content. So he has a little bin in his art room for all of his supplies, like his paper supplies. So construction paper, anything. And it's honestly, as long as it's in the bin, I'm fine with it. We clean it out occasionally. And then he has a thing of markers and a thing of crayons. And he can keep it's not too much, like a pair of scissors and some tape. He loves tape. What is it about tape? He got tape in his stocking this year. But my biggest thing is hyper organization is really hard for kids to maintain. Like they're just not going to have that stamina. So I would say less is more. Oftentimes we think, and I know that this is like out of a place of love. I think this is universal beyond crafts, but toys too. If my kid loves Legos, American Girls, Barbies, crafts, I'm going to keep buying more things of that. The problem is the collection gets overwhelming. And oftentimes what I find is if we thin out the collections, we make the collection a little bit smaller, it's actually better. So for example, my son Quincy also loves Legos. And upstairs we have a little area for toys for him. And he has plastic bins, which are really helpful because you can see inside, which makes picking up easier. Because especially with kids that can't read, if you have like a label that says Legos, they don't know what that is. So I always tell people if you're going to label something, if your containers aren't clear, make sure it's a picture label. It's what I did in first grade. I always had a picture label. So, if it was like dinosaur collection, it would be pictures of dinosaurs. That way they knew what was in that bin but I really love clear bins for kids because they can just see right inside. They know what's in there. Anyway, he has one clear container of Legos. We have a bajillion million Legos in the basement. I mean, what do you do with all those? We have 4 kids. How many countless sets we've gotten? But he loves that little box of Legos, and he can build to his heart's content with that one little box, which just reminds me less is more, and it's easier to clean up. Another thing when it comes to crafts is it's important to have an idea or a system in place for what to do with finished art. We have a lot of finished art around here and we admire it and we enjoy it, but we have a system. And the system is if it's not in your art bin, right? So I told you I have like a little basket in there. He can put it in his basket. When the basket gets full, that's the boundary. He knows he needs to get rid of it. He also has a cork board that's in our mudroom, and that's for school art and regular, just everyday art. And it's up to him how he displays it. There's push pins. He can put his art up there. But if he can't find a spot for it, then he has to make the decision of what to let go. And that kind of takes the onus off of me and puts the onus onto him in having to make decisions about his boundary. Because he knows this is the boundary. The corkboard is his boundary. Of course, there's things from school especially that I'm going to keep forever in his school bin. So that's kind of a separate thing. But this is stuff that, he wants to display for now. He's proud of it for now. And then we're going to eventually move it on and recycle it. He also knows that if it's not in the school bin and if it's not on his art wall and it just gets left out, I will remind him, but otherwise that means that it is trash. And that is important too because that helps him to be responsible for putting things away. Because if it doesn't get put away, it doesn't matter to you, those sorts of things. And that takes practice, but that's really helpful. And then the other thing I always suggest, just like we do with our homes, is an end of the day reset. Now, I will tell you, cleaning up does not come intuitively to all children. So how I used to do it in first grade, it's called you scaffold. So you start out with doing it, modeling it, and talking out loud. So you're cleaning up, quote unquote. But as you're cleaning up, you're saying out loud what you're doing. I'm putting the papers here. I'm putting the markers here. I'm putting the scissors here. Again, you want to make it as easy as possible for them to replicate. But they're standing there and they're watching you. You might even do a couple papers and then say, okay, where does this go? And then have them practice. And then you praise them and say, yes, that's where that goes. Oh, where does the marker go? Yes, that's where the marker goes. But again, you are modeling the behavior you want them to exhibit while explaining it out loud. We often assume kids just naturally know how to do this. And what we're finding, and maybe you feel this way as an adult, is nobody ever taught you how to clean your house. Nobody ever taught you how. And so this works beyond a craft closet of just like modeling to your kids what it looks like to clean the bathroom, clean the toilet, whatever. You're going to show them. You're going to talk out loud. You're going to coach them. Then they're going to try it, and you're going to kind of be the coach. And you're going to say, yes, okay, that's how you do that. Or if they aren't sure, you're like, remember, this is how we do this. And you might have to go in and model it again. And then eventually, over time, once you've done that and then coach them as they've done it, they can eventually do it independently. But we can't expect kids to do it independently. And remember, less is more. The easier we can make it to clean up, the better. If they can't clean it up themselves within 5 to 10 minutes, it's too much stuff. Let it go. Kids need a lot less than we think they do. And a blank canvas, when we ask them to clean up at the end of the day or at the end of the session, I always think of a blank canvas as so much easier to create art on than a canvas that already has stuff all over it, right? That's the same idea that we're giving when we put our homes back to a blank canvas, when we put everything away, it's opening up that creativity. And it's never without fail. Every single time I have my kids clean up, put everything away, and instantaneously they get excited and want to start playing again because of that blank canvas. So, just a different perspective. Okay, hopefully that helps with the cleaning up. All right, next question. What are your best tips for decorating or refreshing a room? Well, if you're on my email list, you know that while I had pneumonia, I was laying in bed for 2 weeks, and it's been on my mind for about a year to refresh our bedroom. I had this really pretty floral bedspread, or actually duvet cover. I hate duvet covers, by the way. Does anybody else hate duvets? I don't understand. Oh my gosh. It's just Why are they so popular? I finally this time was like, I am done with duvets. I've been slowly transitioning all my kids away from duvets. I think it was originally because our washers and dryers couldn't handle it, but my washer and dryer doesn't have an agitator. It can totally handle a bedspread. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Okay, so I had my duvet, and then I had these like vintage floral pictures. And while it was pretty, it just didn't really feel like us anymore. I feel like I've gotten to be more simplistic. I want more airy, bright, light, a little bit, I wouldn't say modern, but just very, just simplistic. Simple on purpose. What can I say? I'm my brand. Okay, but I've been thinking about it for a while. And I just was like, okay, what do I do? Because I like my furniture. By the way, the furniture, our dresser was Solon's when he was 2, and it's from IKEA. So it's 13 years old. We keep things for a long time. I like it. And the thing is, I'm like, I like it. It works. Why replace it? And then we have these bedside tables that are also black that we got at Target, and then our headboard. So I liked all of that. I liked the lamps I had in there. So basically, I was like, okay, the one big swap that I want to make is the bedspread. And that usually, like you could do that with a rug, you could do that with curtains, you could even do that with pillows. I love pillow covers because it can completely change a room. And all you have to do is buy pillow covers. Places like Hobby Lobby and Amazon sell pillow covers, and they're also easier to store. But I decided to change out the bedspread. And that can make like a completely different look for a room. Here's the next thing is I cannot visualize in the store. Like I'll look at a bedspread and I'm like, I think I like it, but I have to take it home and make sure that it works in this space. And I think that that's pretty normal for people. So I went to Target and I grabbed a couple of bedspreads that I thought would work. So you have to be okay with spending a little money knowing you're going to return them. So I grabbed 2 bedspreads and I grabbed 2 different sets of frames because I knew I wanted art, pictures above my bed. I have this idea when we go to Florida at spring break to do a family picture, but then also in the other 2 adjacent frames, it'll just be ocean. So it's kind of like this, the art will be one, but it's us in one frame and then the ocean in the other 2 frames. I'll show you when it's done. Right now, it's just placeholder art that came with it. But I brought these 2 frames home and these 2 bedspreads home, and I laid it all out. It just takes the pressure off having to get it right in the store. The other thing I did is I used Pinterest as a mood board. I kind of just went into Pinterest and typed in bedrooms or whatever room you're refreshing, and whatever I gravitate toward, I would just put in a folder. And what usually starts to happen is your interests, your likes start to emerge. You can start to see, oh, I gravitate toward these colors, or I gravitate towards these prints, or I gravitate towards this style. And that way you can start to kind of figure out what the direction of your room is going. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you is a good refresh is like besides pillow covers, updating your frame, even bringing in a tray, changing out your lamps, all of those sorts of things can be a big bang for your buck without spending a lot of money on furniture. I try to go really neutral on the big stuff. You'll notice in our house we have white cabinets, we have a gray couch, we have a gray headboard. I try to go neutral on the big stuff that I know is going to be timeless and is going to need to last a long time because we just don't switch those things out very often. And then I go fun and punchier on the little stuff. The other thing I'd recommend is decluttering for an instant reset. Simply removing visual clutter, excess decor, unused knickknacks can make the space feel brand new. It's so easy in a bedroom. I get stacks of books in there. You get coffee cups, you get clothes, you get like boxes, right? It's a catch-all. So even just pulling that all out, that excess clutter, can really refresh a room just by pulling things out. And then the other thing I always recommend is use what you already have. Before going and buying, try moving things around in your home. I am a big rearranger. I have always loved rearranging, and it's kind of fun for me. So can I use this in this room, or can I use this outside or inside? Right now I have these stone Easter bunnies on my on either side of my fireplace in my family room. They used to be outside on my porch. And then a couple of years ago, I was like, I kind of want a statement piece. So I brought those bunnies in, and now they're on my flanking my fireplace. So it's fun to try things in different places. It gives them a fresh look. And then last but not least, I always think adding in a plant, some greenery. It doesn't have to be real. I have equal amounts of faux plants as real plants in my house. But just adding a punch of greenery can really elevate a space. I love doing in groups of 3 when I'm decorating a space. So I might do a lamp, a plant, and a picture frame. So groups of 3. And if you feel like you have like a lot of clutter, like you have a jewelry box and maybe you have some perfumes and maybe your watch or phone holder or whatever, I like to use trays because trays take a lot of visual clutter and make it look like one. So I have a tray on my dresser right now that holds a lamp, a plant, and a picture frame, and it kind of makes it just look cohesive. And you can get trays even at the thrift store, and they just work great. I have them all over my house. So those are my best tips for decorating and refreshing a room. And I owe you some pictures of what our new bedroom looks like. I was sort of waiting to get the pictures, but that could be a couple of months, so I should just share that with you. Okay, next question is what are your go-to meals that you've been loving lately? Okay, so we've had 3, and we could probably have these every single week, and everybody in my family would be happy. So number 1, tacos. My family loves tacos. I love tacos. I could eat tacos for the rest of my life. We've had shrimp tacos lately. We've had the Costco street tacos that I love to get. We've had pulled pork tacos and, of course, ground beef tacos. You can switch up the shell. You can switch up the meat. You can get a bagged salad kit and use that as the lettuce. I mean, there's a million and one ways you can make tacos, and we love them. So tacos are always on heavy rotation around here. Sandwiches is another one that I don't know why we feel guilty about having sandwiches. Subway and Jimmy John's have made their whole living on making sandwiches, and we don't bat an eye to go buy a sandwich from them. And so if you want to do something, you can go to Jimmy John's and buy that day-old bread. Their baguettes are 50 cents when they're day-old. You just go through the drive-through, you walk in and you say, "Do you have any day-old bread?" If they do, they'll say, "Yep," and they'll wrap it up for you. If they don't, I think it's $2 a baguette, so it's still pretty cheap, and you can make Jimmy John's sandwiches at home. I even use the wrapping, so it feels just like Jimmy John's. But we love sandwiches. Or if you want to switch it up a little bit, we're doing wraps tonight. So it's the same idea. What we would put on a sandwich, we're just putting it in a tortilla. So that's really fun. But sandwiches have been on heavy rotation because we can take them with us when we go to either a basketball game or we have somewhere to be. I can just make them and we can take it with us. And then the last thing we've been loving lately is burgers. I don't know why I don't think to make these in the wintertime. But I get a bunch of ground beef frozen from Costco. So I'll just thaw 2 pounds of ground beef. And I'll make, on average, I make like 8 patties. So they're quarter pounders, basically. And Solon usually eats 2, and then he can always have one for leftovers. But burgers, I tell you, I just cook them in the cast iron skillet. So I form them, I divide the ground beef into fourths, form them into like patties. And then we love the brioche buns from Aldi. They even have brioche rolls that we turn into sliders if you want to make them a little bit smaller. But I tell you, you put on a little cheese, you can add an egg for a breakfast burger with some bacon. You can do a million and one things, but my family loves burgers. 6 out of 6 are always happy when I make sandwiches, burgers, or tacos. And honestly, why reinvent the wheel or make it more difficult? You could have those things every single week along with leftovers and a charcuterie board, and you have 5 meals rotated. I mean, it's okay. It's okay to have the same things over and over again. Okay, last question, and then I'm going to let you go because it's getting long, but this was a good question. I am overwhelmed by cleaning my whole house every weekend. I need a cleaning schedule. Any tips? Okay. Well, first of all, full disclosure, a couple of years ago, I hired a cleaning crew that comes in and deep cleans my house once a month. So most of my cleaning is maintenance cleaning. I'm not doing any of the deep, like dusting, baseboards, fans. They do all of that. Okay. So just full disclosure on that. And I highly recommend, if you have the means and the resources and cleaning is not your favorite, I kind of I looked at Scott and I said, we're busy on the weekends with our kids' activities. We've got a lot going on. Either it's all hands are on deck I either need to hire help at work or I need to hire help at home. And it made the most logical sense, the most cost effective to hire a cleaning ladies. And they come in and they do a great job. And I love that I get to support another local women-owned business. So there's that. I understand it's not in the cards for everyone. So here's what I would do. I love Clean Mama and Confident Mom, and both of them have cleaning schedules that they have dictated and listed out. I know Clean Mama has you do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday. Confident Mom has a home planner that she uses that dictates what you do on either day. How it works for me is when I'm in the bathroom on Sunday morning when I'm getting ready for church, I have all of my cleaning supplies in all of the bathrooms. So there's cleaning supplies in the upstairs bathroom for the kids, the powder room on the main floor, our bathroom, and the basement bathroom where Solon and Lucille are. And I just have cleaning supplies in each one, which make that in and itself makes cleaning so much easier because everything's ready to go. So then when I'm getting ready, I can scrub the toilet, put a little toilet cleaner in, scrub the toilet. I can wipe down the counters. And then Sunday night when I do my vacuum and mopping, I just go back through and I do that. Now that my kids are older, I delegate a lot. And so my older two are responsible for cleaning their own bathrooms in between when the cleaning ladies come. They're also in charge of vacuuming their spaces. Lucille and Quincy can also help with the vacuuming now. But I am a firm proponent of everybody helping out around the house. So that would be my other question to you. What can you give to family members? Can you break it up so that instead of like 4 hours for you, it's like 1 hour, but this family member has this and this family member has that. It's kind of like our Sunday night tidy, where I take care of our bathroom and the main floor, cleaning up the kitchen and then mopping the main floor. And then Scott kind of oversees the kids. Like he's kind of like I talked about earlier, where you're scaffolding. He's kind of showing the kids how to do things. He's coaching them. He's helping them stay on task. And then they're doing their tasks. So I highly recommend doing that. The other thing I'd recommend is somewhere along the way, we were told we have to do X, Y, and Z every single week. Now, everybody has different thresholds, but I do not do my sheets every single week. There are 6 of us. If I washed everybody's sheets every week, I'd probably lose my mind. My goal is to wash a couple of pairs of sheets. So my little two, I probably wash once a month. My big two and us, we alternate. So I'm washing somebody's sheets every other week, usually. We were 6, so then everybody's sheets are getting washed all the time. But I would just say, can you do a maintenance mode? Does every single weekend have to be like deep, deep cleaning? Again, the threshold is up to you, and everybody has a different threshold of what clean is. Like for me, I'm like, I have to mop my floors once a week. Like our floors start to look scrubby, whatever. Another thing is we have guests that come over to our house every Tuesday night. We have a adult Bible study. And I will tell you, there is no motivation like having somebody over to your house regularly. I actually saw a meme the other day that said, I don't need a cleaning schedule. I just need somebody to text me and say they're coming over in 45 minutes. That'll whip me right into shape and get the house clean. So those are just some things. Like I said, keeping the cleaning supplies in each space. I highly recommend the Confident Mom or Clean Mama for their cleaning schedules. Delegating where you can. And then also just a little bit every day. Establishing that nightly reset. Like at the end of the day, I close up the kitchen. The kitchen and the bathrooms are the biggest culprits. And so if I just put the dishes in the dishwasher, wash start the dishwasher, wipe off the counters, do a quick vacuum of the floor, that in and of itself helps so much. And the less clutter we have that we have to work around, the simpler our cleaning schedule is going to be as well. And then same in the family room and our main spaces. We just do a quick nightly reset. The pillows go back on the couches, the blankets get put back in the basket, the toys get put back away. It's a blank slate. Like I said earlier, blank slates allow us to have more creativity and blossom and all of those sorts of things. So those would be my tweaks and recommendations. I hope that's helpful to you. This was really fun. Lots of things. I talked for a while. This was a longer episode, but I love these frequently asked questions. Ask me anything. I'll be back next week with more tweaks to simplify your life because you don't need an overhaul to love your life. I hope one of these tweaks helps you think outside the box and maybe make something that feels hard or overwhelming a little bit easier with one tiny change. Have a great week, friends. If you liked this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.